She was shipwrecked on an island which was the site of a great affliction, a haven of juxtaposed vernaculars and forgotten industry, pressured by a web of the interconnected powers. She walked around, experiencing this strange world and avoiding the watchful eye of those that would seek to place her under scrutiny. On her journey, she would find a series of places that she captured and recorded, becoming the focus of her studies. These places apparently outside the realms of the interconnected powers in which she experienced. As she moved, the world around her was drawn further under the spell of these forces, acting from the shadows against those that inhabited it. The Metro Centre's construction was financed by the Church Commissioners of England in October 1985, when the site was purchased for £100,000. The centre was then developed by Cameron Hall Developments and sold on to Capital Shopping Centres, now named Into Properties, for $364 million. The Church Commissioners retained a 10% stake, whilst Capital Shopping sold theirs to the Singapore government in a $426 million deal. The London subsidiary of FTSE 100 company, Liberty International, sold a 40% stake and retained a 50% stake.
These glass doors separate me from the calm of the island and the hum from within. The canopy above dragged me into the complicated maze of consumerism. Watching the hustle of people flow through the doors, I keep my head low as they walk past, and I hope to be just a blurry figure in their day, playing no part in what's before me. I ventured deeper, following arrows that pointed in every direction, all leading to the same inevitable end. The consumer giants viciously towered over me, looking down on their next victim, each battling to gain my attention.
Large department stores anchor the shopping centre. Marks & Spencer, House of Fraser, Debenhams and TK Maxx take each corner. In September 2010, the region's second Apple store was opened. It was shortly followed by the TK Maxx HomeSense store later that autumn, adding to the growing list of major flagship destination stores. In March 2018, a 78,000 square foot Next store opened, taking the place of 12 shops on the upper floor and the former BHS unit on the lower level, creating one of the largest Next stores in the country. Smaller market stalls occupy the neighbouring walkways.
The largest of the stores hosted queues that snaked deep into the flow of crowds moving by. I watched as they waited, retained by barriers, 2 meters apart. As I am drawn closer to the pit, lights flashed brighter, more violently, sounds grew louder as the voices from the TV screens echoed even more intensely. I'm immersed in a wave of a rushing, hypnotised crowd.
The 2 million square foot mall houses 42 electronic advertisement boards. Into markets the screens as a form of technology that no longer has to just be a one-dimensional platform for delivery, but an integral part of the complete brand experience, where movement, audio, and incredible content combine to create meaningful interactions that ultimately drive engagement, interaction, and sales. Developed by LED specialists ADI, the Epoch screens are intended to replicate the mobile experience. Intu's schedule for advertisement screens was developed with the intention to drive people's desire to visit the centre and keep coming back.
You don't always have to notice them, but they're there. And they notice you.
There are as many as 215 cameras within the public walkways across the 2 floors of the shopping centre. Many more appear regularly on its exterior. Guards have regular patterns in shift and travel as well.
This place is like a labyrinth. Where must I go? Where am I? What turn do I take? Am I lost? I dread to think of how many caught my glance. There are rumours of blind spots in a village on this island.
It seems that there are several areas that are lacking in any visual presence of security and recording equipment. The village is one such place. Urban high streets continue to decline across the country, with high street retail employment falling in more than 3/4 of local authorities between 2015 and 2018. The shopping centre seems to try and counteract this by building its own high street with the village area. There are numerous closed shops in this district, with the least amount of surveillance in the whole centre.
I arrive. Is this my solace? I must search for a blind spot. I'm itching to document my findings. Will this suffice? I've uncovered an abundance of empty lots, free from the watching eye. If only I knew how to get into them without being seen. It seems of no use. I think I must leave this place. I'm weary-eyed now and all too aware that any sound I make above that of a low whisper is picked up. Every movement I make is observed. I have to act. Do act. From habit that becomes instinct. In the assumption that even the slightest murmur is overheard and accept in darkness every stride scrutinised. People surround me everywhere. The last-minute Christmas rush before the island is locked down. The shoppers are controlled by the dominance of the hierarchy, impulsively playing their part on this little island. I feel like I can hide in plain sight, but I can still feel the watching from above. Every corner and every turn.
The Metro Centre features 10,000 free car parking spaces. There has been continuous development of multi-storey car parks being added from 2000 with the Secretary of State granted consent. Attracting 20 million shoppers per year, it was essential to add to the transport infrastructure. The A1 Western Bypass opened in 1990 to provide extra lanes, meaning that shoppers wouldn't have to queue longer during busier shopping times.
A moat filled with vehicles surrounded the island, each halted in front of an empty billboard. Its power was lost, voice muted, but the cars still looked towards it for affirmation. Like sirens, it once lured stray sailors into the jaws of the mall. But now its power had worn away, and a paper skeleton was all that remained.
It had once hosted advertisements for large retail giants, Now TV being the most recent. However, as the roads grew quiet during the COVID-19 pandemic of 2020, its power weakened and, like many other surrounding billboards, advertisements were removed, never to be replaced. It has been recorded that over 71% of consumers look often at the messages on roadside billboards, making it one of the most profitable pieces of advertisement. The average cost per billboard in the UK is between £200 and £500 for 2 weeks.
I am forced out by these expanding networks where we lie in the shadows. I stumble toward the edge where the tunnel connects the unobserved. Graffiti sprawled the walls. I felt the emotions of people protesting for their freedom, the citizens who did not want to be part of the system anymore, scrawling their search for liberty on the walls beneath my hand, the echo reminiscent of the voices who had stood before me. The darkness of the tunnel closing in as I wander through. On the coast of the island was a forest path. As I walk along it, nestled among the hedgerows, I come across a large concrete expanse. It seems peaceful here.
Although the brewery had been dismantled years ago, some vague outlines still remained. Brewing had begun here at this custom-built site in Dunstan in the 1980s, when the factory was transferred from its original Hanover Square site. In 2005, it became the new home of Newcastle Brown Ale, originally developed by Colonel Jim Porter, when producers Scottish and Newcastle took over the Fed. They purchased the plant for $7.2 million and merged the staff in the acquisition. The purchase and consolidation at Dunstan created the new brewing company, Newcastle Federation Breweries. The Federation Brewery produced its last bottle of Newcastle Brown Ale in 2010. The old, vacant brewery site was taken over by a shopping centre giant in a $3 million deal in September 2012. The owners of the shopping centre were quoted as saying there were significant opportunities for the site, including the potential for homes to be built there. It's now 2020 and no homes have been built.
I see a pram with no seat, weeds growing through the cracks in the ground. I think about the journey I have been on, and how this place seems so separate from the powers, but so connected still. It speaks of a history that there once was. I prefer it here. I think I'll stay here a while.